Across Africa, the African Continental Free Trade Area, or AFCFTA, represents a bold step towards economic integration. It's a vision of shared prosperity, free trade, and a united African market. But amidst this vision lies a critical gap, one that directly affects the backbone of this economic future: the workers.
ITUC is one of our international bodies, and it's a global union, but we have an office in Africa, formed also to take workers' interests at heart and also look at international issues with respect to trade union in Africa.
The AFCFTA, implemented in 2022, promises to be the largest free trade area in the world, unlocking new opportunities for businesses and economies across the continent. Yet, workers, those who drive Africa's growth, remain on the margins of this trade revolution. Without explicit protections and provisions for labor, the risks of exploitation, poor working conditions, and inequality grow. A labor chapter within the AFCFTA is not just a necessity, it is an imperative. Research shows that many African workers face low wages, informal contracts, and unsafe working environments. The absence of a dedicated labor framework within AFCFTA risks deepening these challenges. A labor chapter can address these gaps by establishing common labor standards, promoting fair wages, and safeguarding worker rights. Recent studies highlight critical statistics. 68% of surveyed workers are unaware of AFCFTA's provisions. In sectors like manufacturing and agriculture, over 50% report unsafe working conditions, and only 20% of cross-border trade agreements include labor clauses. These numbers underscore the urgent need for a labor chapter to bridge the gap between policy and practice, ensuring that workers are not left behind.
To start with, then there's need for a labor chapter in the AFTA agreement, since when it comes to workers, there's need for decent work, which is really silent. There are some chapters in the AFTA that are trying to touch on things to do with labor, but I would say that they are silent, but would wish for it to be loud enough, for there to be decent work when the goods are being produced, when the goods are moving from one country to the other. So the need for the labor chapter in the AFTA agreement is to make sure that it involves trade union liberalization, and then also it looks at the decent working conditions, which promote sustainable development, and also to protect workers' rights across Kenya and the region. Not only in Kenya, but for all the countries that are there.
If you look at the objectives for putting together this chapter, the one key area is to create more jobs or create opportunities for jobs. And we have come to know that merely creating jobs isn't a solution, and that those jobs have to be decent jobs if they are to help people. And if that is the case, then it is clear that those investors that are coming in to take advantage of AFTA must submit to some rules of engagement when it comes to employment or disengagement of labor. And those rules you normally specify in a labor chapter or in a labor clause. Okay. And essentially all that we are saying is that those that are coming to invest and take advantage of NAFTA must conform to ILO standards when it comes to the engagement or non-engagement of labor. So for example, we expect that if investors come, they will allow their workers to have a freedom of association, to be able to form a union and to bargain collectively among themselves. That there will be no incidence of child labor, that there will be equality of opportunities for men and women. So these are the reasons that we think that they should have a social chapter.
Any policy formulation around trade issues that South African government has to embark on, it has to consult with both labor and business, right?
Yeah.
So, yes. So the intention is not different from us. We want to be part, we want to have a seat, for example, in the Africa Free Trade Agreement structures, whatever structure that will be created. We want to, as labor, to be part of those structures so that the voice of workers in the African continent, the producers of the wealth of this continent, are part and parcel of decision making. So that's why we demand, we're not requesting, we're not begging, we demand that the labor chapter must be part of the Africa Free Trade Agreement.
Le problème constaté, c'est que si on doit mettre en place la ZLECAf, il faudrait que le sujet de la ZLECAf soit à l'ordre du jour des négociations entre le gouvernement, le patronat et les syndicats. Donc, si ces sujets sont inscrits, notamment la mise en place des chaînes de valeur, parce que les entreprises sont en train d'être installées, les industries vont se développer, mais on n'a pas parlé de la création des emplois, on n'a pas parlé aussi des revenus, on n'a pas aussi parlé de la protection sociale. Donc, si ce processus doit stimuler la croissance économique, c'est à la base, c'est le travail. À la base, ce sont les emplois qui vont permettre à ce qu'il y ait un accroissement de cette économie. Donc, comment protéger les travailleurs, comment protéger les revenus et mettre en place, par exemple, la protection sociale, la sécurité sociale, les meilleures conditions de travail pour toutes ces personnes qui vont bénéficier de l'emploi, par exemple, dans le processus de l'industrialisation ou dans la mise en place des zones économiques spéciales. Donc, c'est important déjà qu'on puisse parler de ces questions-là.
Yes, we think that is very important because there is no trade without labor. The people that are driving the trade are human beings, and those are the workers. And we cannot continue allowing that people prioritize trade as if trade drives itself. Yeah, that's why it's very important for us to ensure that trade do benefit the workers, trade do include the workers and all those kind of things. Yeah, so that's why we think that it's very important for us to include the labor provisions in AFTA.
The AFCFTA is a powerful tool for Africa's economic growth, but its success depends on protecting those who power its industries.
From economic studies, even in the growth of the European Union and European Economic Community, we can clearly find out that increase in economic activities, increase in economic growth happened as labor standards were inculcated in the different European Union countries. So there is, like I said earlier, there is an intrinsic connection and bond between decent working conditions, including especially decent wages, and optimum work environment and economic growth. And I think that's a point that has been missed in the design of the African Continental Free Trade. But it's not too late. The protocols have been designed through the instrumentality of the ITUC Africa, indeed ITUC Global. We have had a lot of engagements on this process to try to ensure that these trade instruments are not devoid of a human face. They are not devoid of decent work pillars, decent work tendencies, so that we are able to provide the right environment for sustainable economic growth on the continent. So for us in the trade union movement, for us in the organized labor in Africa, we believe that we can use an instrument, very important instrument like the AFCFTA, the AFTA, to actually stimulate accelerated economic growth in Africa.
I think that AFTA, whether we like it or not, have come to stay. And we must prepare ourselves and be ready for it. So one, I will call for serious education and training and capacity building for our members. I will call for good policies intervention. I will call for good agreements on social protection and workers' rights. And I also advocate for the empowerment of the youth and the women in this direction. When we're able to do that, I think then we are good to go. And definitely, if there will be any negatives, the negatives will not be too much. If you're able to put them in place, both government, unions, and employers, I think we are good to go. It can make African also develop. Because trade is a powerful tool that can be used to develop economies that are underdeveloped.
Ce n'est pas seulement BAD. Il y a d'autres institutions en Afrique du Nord. Nous avons d'autres institutions selon les zones. En East Africa, en Ouest, en Australie, au Nord. Et aussi, ils ont, par exemple, les confédérations. Ils sont aussi nécessaires dans l'intervention de cela parce qu'ils doivent faire le plaidoyer pour les travailleurs. Parce que si un grand marché comme celui-là, le travail du Rwanda peut aller au Bénin, peuvent aller au Ghana, ils peuvent aller n'importe où pour travailler.
Bien, comme on le sait tous, actuellement, nous assistons partout dans plusieurs régions du monde, donc notamment l'Afrique, que le mouvement syndical il est visé par diverses attaques qui compromettent l'existence des organisations, qui cherchent à compromettre l'existence des organisations syndicales et leur durabilité et leur riposte donc à différentes pratiques non durables qui ne respectent pas les principes et les droits humains. Et du coup, le mouvement syndical africain en particulier, dans le cadre de l'accord ZLECAf, doit donc veiller à être proactif plutôt que réactif. En ce sens, malheureusement, les organisations syndicales étaient toujours en quête de réagir par rapport aux événements économiques, par rapport aux accords commerciaux qui ont été conclus, qui ne respectent pas certaines clauses sociales, des clauses relatives à l'emploi, des clauses relatives au travail décent. Donc, il vaut mieux être proactif, anticiper ces changements et donc ne pas être...
A labor chapter is not just a policy. It's a promise to uphold the dignity, rights, and well-being of African workers. Join us in calling for a labor chapter in AFCFTA because fair trade starts with fair treatment for all.